Your toddler is having the sweetest afternoon until suddenly, out of nowhere, a small hand flies out and hits you, or worse, teeth. You're stunned, maybe a little hurt, and the question that hits right after the sting is always the same one. Why would my sweet kid do that? Here's the truth that might surprise you. It's almost never about hurting you at all. Something much simpler and much more common than you think is going on underneath. Hitting and biting are two of the most common and most misunderstood toddler behaviors out there. They tend to peak somewhere between 18 months and 3 years old, and almost every toddler does one or both at some point, even ones who are otherwise gentle, easygoing kids. For a lot of parents, that first hit or bite feels like a red flag, a sign something's wrong, or a preview of a difficult personality. It almost never is. Here's what's actually happening. At this age, your toddler's emotions are developing much faster than their words. They can feel enormous frustration, jealousy, overstimulation, or excitement, full-sized, grown-up level emotions, but they only have a tiny handful of words to express any of it. When that gap gets too wide, when the feeling is bigger than the vocabulary available to explain it, their body finds another way to communicate. A hit or a bite in this context isn't a plan, and it isn't malice. It's closer to an emotional overflow, the fastest, most physical outlet available to a brain that hasn't yet built the wiring for use your words under pressure. This is also why it often happens in very specific moments. When a toy gets taken, when they're overtired, when there's too much noise or stimulation, or when they simply don't have the words for, "I don't want to share," or "I'm overwhelmed right now." The trigger is almost always a big feeling with nowhere else to go. Understanding why this happens doesn't mean it shouldn't be addressed. It actually helps you address it better. Since this is a communication gap, not defiance, the most effective response is calm and consistent, not punitive. In the moment, a simple, steady response works best. Gently take their hand or move back and name the feeling for them. Something like, "I won't let you hit me. You're really frustrated right now." You're not ignoring the behavior, you're giving them the words their brain hasn't built yet, every single time, until eventually they start reaching for those words themselves instead of their hands. This is slow work, and it's genuinely not about a single perfect response. It's about hundreds of small, calm repetitions over months, which is exhausting, but it is how this skill actually gets built. Occasional hitting or biting during this stage is typical and expected. It doesn't mean something is wrong with your toddler, and it isn't a sign of future aggression. It's worth talking to your pediatrician if it's frequent, intense, unprovoked by any clear trigger, continues well past age 4, or is paired with other developmental concerns you've noticed. For the wide majority of toddlers, though, this fades naturally as language catches up to emotion. So the next time that small hand flies out, try to remember it's not a character flaw, and it's not a preview of who they'll become. It's just a big feeling that hasn't found its words yet, and every calm, steady response you give is helping build the bridge to get there. If this helped you understand today's hard moment a little better, subscribe. Every week, I answer the questions you're too tired to Google at 2 a.m. And if there's a behavior you're currently wondering about, drop it in the comments. It might be next week's video.